Hi, this is Braxton Thornley with another UEN teacher tip. Are you looking for new ways to integrate formative assessment into your classroom? Drawing, labeling, and diagramming is a great way to do that. Nearpod's a great feature for integrating drawing, labeling, and diagramming into your classroom. First off, it allows your students to be a little bit more involved in the process, and then it also gives you valuable information that you can use to make instructional decisions as you teach. Using Nearpod allows you to drop images on a template that students can then mark up or label or draw on top of. Additionally, you can just use a blank template to allow students a little bit more leeway and give them the opportunity to draw whatever you need them to draw. But today we're going to focus on how drawing and diagramming and even labeling can give you the information that you need to make those instructional decisions. So we'll begin by creating a new lesson here. So I'll go to Create and Lesson, and then we're going to add a new activity, and specifically we're adding a Draw It activity today. And the first Draw It activity that we are going to use is we're going to use one of Nearpod's pre-made activities, which you can see on the right-hand side here. So Nearpod gives us a bunch of options for filtering those activities, and today we're going to say 4th grade math and open up an activity on fractions. Now, once I click that, you'll see that it loads in, and I'll minimize our instructions for now. And here's our activity that we have already built for us that students could use to work with fractions. We also want to talk about how to create our own activities though, so I'm going to open up another Draw It activity, and I'm going to minimize those menus that we looked at before. For this activity, I'm going to add an image, and students are going to mark up the image that I add here. This image in particular is a topographical map, and I'm going to make that a little bit larger for us. And the idea with this activity is I want students to be able to interpret this map and figure out the best way to get from point A to point B with the least amount of elevation change possible. So you can see I'm adding some circles to my map, and I've done that by just adding shapes. And then I'm going to open up the instructions and type what I want students to do, which is draw a route between the two circles with the smallest amount of elevation change possible. Then I'm going to go ahead and minimize those instructions. Now I want to show you another activity as well, so I'm going to open up Draw It again. And with this activity, rather than adding an image, I'm actually going to add text. And I'm going to write a sentence here that has a punctuation error. Because I wasn't feeling hungry, I decided to skip lunch. Now in this activity, I want students to identify where the comma goes. So in my instructions at the top, I'm going to say the sentence is missing a comma. Where does it belong? And then students would then mark where that comma should go in the sentence. Now we're going to open up even a 4th activity here, so I'm opening up the Draw It activities again, and this time I'm going to add another image, but I'm going to add a diagram this time, and the diagram is going to be of the skeletal system. Now I'll make this diagram just a little bit larger here, and what I want students to do this time is I want them to identify where the tibia is in the skeletal system. So I'll say circle the tibia on the diagram below. And then once I've done that and I've added all my Draw It activities, I can click Save and Exit. So as you can see, there are a variety of ways to use Draw It to formatively assess students. You can use some of the pre-made activities, you can upload your own images, they can label your images, you can write sentences that they mark up. There are a variety of ways to integrate this into your classroom to get students involved in the assessment process. Today we've talked about how to use Nearpod's Draw It feature to facilitate drawing or labeling or diagramming of some sort in your classroom for formative assessment. First, we talked about some of the built-in Draw It templates that Nearpod already has available to you, but then we also talked about how you can add images as a template for your students to mark up. Again, the important thing here is that we want to give our students a variety of opportunities to engage in our classroom while we simultaneously assess them. Hopefully today gave you a couple of ideas that you can use in your own classroom. Thanks for joining us for another UEN Teacher Tips. We'll see you next time.